Frank, you grew up in Chicago. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, what your childhood was like?
I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and as a kid, my parents didn't have too much money, and I shined shoes and stuff like that, robbed, and grew up around a lot of thieves. My father was a criminal, and sort of looked up to him.
Tell me how you met Tony Spilatro.
We were shining shoes. He was on one side of the street, I was on the other. And I didn't know him, he didn't know me. And he looked over at me from across the street. It was on Grand Avenue. It's a main street that runs through Chicago. And he says to me, get off the street. And I told him to go screw himself in so many words. So he came running across the street, and we met in the middle. Actually, we both grabbed each other by the collars, you know, shook each other a little bit. And then he told me if I was here tomorrow, that he would break my head. And I told him, I don't see any signs over here with your name on them. Tony seen me a week later and told me that his father said that he should get along with me because my father did him a great justice.
You and Tony, I believe, wound up in a special school because you couldn't get along or you had trouble with regular school. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was a vocational school because previous to that I had problems in another school where I hung the principal out of the window by his ankles.
You and Tony had different goals in your lives, though. Can you kind of elaborate on what that was and what his thinking was and yours was at the time?
Tony always wanted to be a syndicate guy. He always wanted to be in the outfit. That's what we call syndicate outfit.
Mm-hmm. So that's the mob in Chicago is what you're saying.
Yeah, they call it different things everywhere. And I didn't want to be in the outfit. I felt as though then it was like being in the military or something. You had to take orders from this guy and that guy, you know. So I liked being the renegade I was, and he always used to tell me, I'm going to be in the mob one of these days, the outfit, and I'm going to make you my right-hand man. I said, yeah, okay. I used to think he was nuts.
Well, you've always had a love for cars. Is
Yep.
that right? That's what I heard. Now, was car theft one of your passions because you like different cars, or you liked unusual cars or flashy cars?
I figured like this, if I'm out there robbing, making money, I want to drive a Cadillac or a brand new 98 O's.
Right.
And that's what I'd done. They used to get pissed off at me.
Oh, they did?
Sure.
Yeah. So they felt you were drawing too much heat.
I think they were a little jealous.
Dennis, now you've written 2 books now involving Frank. The first was Battle for Las Vegas, which has been a runaway hit, very useful book for our mob tour. We do the Vegas mob tour, and we've used your book to base our tour on that. But you did, I would imagine, hundreds of hours with Frank to get these stories. Is that right?
We spent a lot of time, yes. I wanted to tell the story of the Tony Spilatro era, which is what the movie Casino was based on.
That's right. The movie Casino is based on a true story.
Right.
And we should let people know that Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci were playing characters, but they were actually based on the real characters of Tony Spilatro and Frank Rosenthal, correct?
Right. Yeah, when I was researching for Battle, Dennis Arnoldy was kind enough at one point to put me in touch with Frank by telephone. So we had an initial conversation at that point. After Battle was completed and at the publishers, I kept in touch with Dennis on and off, and I got thinking what a fascinating story Frank's story would make, his life story. So eventually we met in person, talked over, and we decided we could co-author the book.
A gang or a group that was eventually called the Hole in the Wall Gang. Can you tell us a little bit about how that got started?
Yeah,
and
we
what
got
that
a
was all
label.
about?
We got a label again from the police. They start referring to us as the Hole in the Wall Gang because we start knocking holes in walls. We were beating their alarm systems. There was holes everywhere.
The FBI and the Metro Police were waiting for you. Is this correct?
Yeah, you need to ask them about it.
Well, that's where Dennis Arnoldy comes in. Dennis, you were one of the FBI special agents at the Bertha's robbery. Where were you at? Tell us a little bit about what happened that night.
Well, I was part of the arrest team that actually went up on the roof that night. It was 2 Metropolitan Police Department officers and 2 FBI agents. We knew there would be people on the roof, 3 people that were going to go into Bertha's through the roof. We also knew that they were going to have a counter surveillance on us, 3 cars, I believe, and they were going to be looking to find out, make sure that the police weren't watching them. So we had agents and Metropolitan Police officers following the cars. And there was another car, a van that was parked across the street in a shopping center that the Frank and his crew were using to monitor police and FBI radios.
Who was arrested this evening besides Frank? Do you remember?
Well, Leo Guardino and Ernie Davino and Wayne Matecki, and of course Larry Newman, Frank himself, and Joe Belasco.
I said, from now on, we're screwed. We get caught one time making a hole in the wall, it's all over with.
In October of 1979, a man named Jerry Listener had to be dealt with. Could you tell us a little story about Listener and how he came into being and what happened and what you did with him?
Briefly, he was an informant. He tried to set Tony and I up, and he had to be dealt with.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
I killed him, that's it. You read about it.